Hello and welcome to Audiotree Live. Today is Wednesday, December 8th, 2021, and we are very excited to have Joshua Powell in the studio with us today. Take it away when you're ready. watching Audiotree Live with Joshua Powell. Damn, you guys sound really good. Welcome back, too. Rick was saying you guys were 10 years ago, session number 37 of Audiotree's existence, and now you're back about 1,300 sessions later.
So damn old.
Yep. No, you guys are great. You
Thank
sound
you.
great. So that was Sad Boy at the Skeleton Party, correct? Off of your new album, Skeleton Party.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about making that album? Because you made it during the pandemic?
Who didn't, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's in fashion. We're just
Yeah.
trying to stay on trend.
Well, you're right. Your fingers on the pulse.
We were supposed to be on tour during most of that time. We had like 50 dates booked. And then Jacob was, my brother, the drummer here, was on cruise lines. And he was in between like 9 months periods at sea when the lockdown happened.
Oh man, cruise ship during a pandemic. The
Not
place
the-
place to be.
Not the healthiest place
Yeah.
to be, even outside of pandemic time.
Yeah.
We had all this nervous energy and a bunch of free weekends, so
Uh-huh.
we thought, let's just start making some songs. Why don't you play on them since you're here? And then Adam leaked 2 of our undone demos. I was like, what the hell? But he showed them to Chris at Romanus Records in Indiana, and
Cool.
then he said, if you have 6 or 7 more songs like this, we'll put it out. So
Nice.
we were a bit under the gun. We had like the great deadline and calling our producer like 2 a.m. Can you please send back this mix? But we put the vinyl out on Halloween, which was also our 10-year anniversary of being a band. So
That's pretty awesome.
yeah,
Yeah. Do you work well under pressure?
I think that's the only way that we know how to work. When
Uh-huh.
there's not pressure, you don't feel the onus of the initiative. You're just like, oh yeah, it'll get done.
Yeah.
And when a label guy's like, if it's not done by February, you don't have a record. And it's like, okay, then
Yeah.
we better work.
Then I'll have some friggin' music for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like in reading interviews that you've done, like community is a pretty big aspect of like being a musician, and then like something that you like really like appreciate. So, how was it during the pandemic and during lockdown when that wasn't as accessible for you?
It was weird because I was locked in with my closest friends. So our band,
Yeah.
3 of the 4 of us were living together.
Awesome.
And so I didn't have like a huge isolation gap or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But we just now did a tour for most of October and most of November. And it's amazing how much you miss the people that you only see once or twice a year.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the highlight of an otherwise sort of a rough tour, getting back into the groove and remembering our rhythms and testing out all this new stuff in all these cities. Everywhere we went, there'd be 2 or 3 people that were there that had been coming to see us for 10 years or whatever. And
That's a really fun feeling.
Those are really special connections.
Yeah. Well, the next song is Coral Castle, and I know there's a story behind that. So
Yeah.
if you want to...
So I'm from Florida originally, and there's a lot of weird stuff that happens there, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the news lets us know about those things almost every week. There's a place, though, that I saw called the Coral Castle. I saw it in this documentary about ancient aliens I was watching with my grandma. And there's this man, this like Latvian American immigrant who came over to the United States to prepare a home for his fiancée to come. And once he came to the U.S., she was like, actually, I'm going to stay in Latvia. So he's heartbroken, and then used occult magic to build this fortress in the woods, and all these people, like there's no way that he could have lifted these stones by himself.
Uh-huh.
And so it's either like Satan
The
or
Stonehenge of
aliens,
Florida.
Yeah, exactly. There was a gate that would it was too big for a person to move unless the moon hit it right, and then it would swing open. Crazy shit. So I thought it would be a cool story to adapt into a song.
Uh-huh.
We used to be a folk band, so we're all for like telling other stories and things. But then in my story, we had gotten through like the first 3 minutes of the song, and I had told all the story there was to tell. So we tacked on some too.
Nice.
After he gets his heart broken, he's encountered by the devil, which seems like it would be scary. But then they find out they have a lot in common, and they start a band together. It's a redemptive arc
Nice.
for Edward Liedelskinn. So
Well, I'm very excited to hear this. So if you want to roll into it.
thanks. This
Excited.
is Coral Castle. We're going to play a song now, also from Skeleton Party. This one's called White Lodge Fire. It's a little different. It's a little different.
watching Audiotree Live with Joshua Powell. That was really sick. So right before we before we went into those songs, you said that you used to be a folk band.
Yes.
So you don't identify as a folk band anymore.
We don't identify as a lot of things that we used to.
Has like your approach to music shifted at all after you sort of decided to not be a folk band anymore?
Nah, same thing, same recipe.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever saw our old Audiotree, but there's different guys, and I'm proud of
A lot of flannel.
Who we
Yeah.
were. There was a lot of flannel.
Yeah. Now there's a
Plus-
really sick fringe leather jacket.
Thank you.
That's a really good jacket.
It's so impractical.
I mean,
I always lose like 2 or 3 pieces of fringe every time I wear it, so I can only suffer for fashion for so long.
I mean, I understand, but it's really working.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Stop. No, I mean, yeah, it used to be, for a long time, the band was called Joshua Powell and the Great Train Robbery, but that's a bit of a lie. It was me and whoever I hired
Yeah.
to go with
And you
me.
guys weren't robbing trains.
I mean, can't really
Occasionally.
talk about that on the
That's
record.
true. That's true. I understand.
But
NDAs and all that.
it was very much about like I'd write everything and tell people what to play, and that's not the case anymore.
Yeah.
All 3 of these guys have credit on the album and have helped write these songs, and so it's much more collaborative. It's much I don't know. I was afraid of music for a long time because I had limits, and I knew I was a good storyteller, and
Yeah.
so folk was a comfortably slim palette. But having friends who are this good at music, it's hard not to get good at music by osmosis.
Yeah.
And so it's very much about the synergy today and about our family and our collaboration within our family.
It's not, I mean, it's working.
Thanks.
It's working.
I think so. It's much better than what I used to do. So, and that's the difference is that these 3 are here. So
Yeah. When you say you were scared of music, what do you mean?
it's like you think people who can't shred like to shit on people who can shred because like, oh, it's not about how many notes, it's about feel. And it's like, yeah, dog, because you can't play that many notes yet. Like you gotta go practice and then you can criticize.
Like you're a little upset. I mean, speaking as someone who can't shred, I understand what you're saying.
I think if you can get to practice to the point where you can shred, and then you go over the other side of the head and you're like, oh, it's not always about shredding. Sometimes it's about taste and restraint. But if you say, oh, it's all about taste and restraint because you don't know your scales, then you're an asshole.
Yeah. I mean, that also, because I also read something where that you said there's a difference between being an artist and being an entertainer.
Yes.
And I feel like that sort of is a very similar parallel of shredding versus taste. Or not that shredding's not taste, but I mean like, you know, like the entertainment of rock and roll, of like shredding versus like the sort of like quiet contemplation of folk music. Like they're 2 different skill sets.
I mean, it's
possibly.
It's all on a spectrum of what culture perceives and idolizes as authenticity.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So the rock, I think, come out of a glam season, and it was like the grunge era was all about like, well, that's not cool anymore. What's cool is being real.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, if you practice your scales a lot, you still really practice those
Yeah,
skills. It's
yeah.
cool to shred if you can.
Yeah.
You know, but
I totally agree. And that's something that I think is very interesting because I think that right now, especially like the concept of like what is real in the music industry is like, it's always a conversation, but I think it's right now it's sort of experiencing somewhat of it.
we're all after having what we perceive as real experiences, but it has become a buzzword. It's become a cliche. Like, it's like, are you saying that it's real if it sucks a little bit? Like, I don't think that's a good metric. So
That's interesting. And this is a purely selfish question. I saw that you were you're a Virginia Woolf fan.
Oh, yes.
And I have been wanting to get into Virginia Woolf for a very long time.
And you're not there yet?
I'm not there yet, but that's because for me, what would you recommend as like an initial Virginia Woolf book to read?
Based on our deep friendship and long-standing connection,
Yes.
I would recommend To the Lighthouse. Have
Okay.
you tried that one before?
No.
It's magnificent because very, very, very little happens in about 130 pages.
Okay.
It's just like a day in the life of a family. But the way that Woolf writes starts with sort of the camera from the female protagonist's perspective, but then she will notice her child, and it'll describe the child, and then imperceptibly the camera will have shifted to the child's perspective such that you are now experiencing the world through that lens. And she does that effortlessly throughout the book so that you're reading from all these different perspectives, but it feels very cohesive and immersive. And so I tried to cop that approach in writing Skeleton Party because with the last 2 years in between Psychotropic and this album, I hadn't lived a bunch of fascinating, interesting, compelling journeys and pilgrimages from which to draw and to write about. And so a lot of the stories on this album are imagined. They are surrealist. They are dreams about other perspectives. And sometimes I'm talking about what I really feel and think, and other times I'm talking from the perspective of a detective in the Old West or a cormorant with laser eyes. some shit like that.
Yeah. All right, that you've sold me, because I've like, she's someone that I love, because I think she's, from what I've read of her, I've read her like literary criticism, and but I've never read her novels, so I'll do it.
It's good stuff. Orlando is good too, because it's like this really proto-trans narrative where there's a person who experiences gender fluidity throughout the course of the text without any clear delineation.
Damn.
It's great.
Okay. Apparently Virginia Woolf is a good writer. Who knew? Who knew?
I don't know, like all English teachers forever.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being here. This has been really great.
Thanks for having us. It's a freaking honor.
Yeah, of course.
Do you want to hear some tasteful shredding?
I do. I really do. I do. You guys can go and tastefully shred.
Oh, bless you.
Thank you.
That's good. And thanks to everyone at Audiotree for having us out. It's a real treat. Our last number is called Cannabis Rex.
Joshua Powell on Audiotree Live. Wow, the shredding, so tasteful. Wow.
Tasteful shreds.
Nice. Thank you guys so much for being here. You can get Joshua Powell's album Skeleton Party. It is out now. Thank you to the Audiotree crew. Thank you to the camera and lighting crew, and to the audio engineers and Ellie on the Black Magic.
Yeah.
And thank you guys again. This has been great. And thank you for watching. We'll see you later. Goodbye.
All right, so you guys want to do it for real now?